we've been in sport for many years. We really believe in what IEF does. Thank you everyone on behalf of IEF for being here. It is truly an important symposium. It is my pleasure to present the next speaker, Ravi Corea. He will present Project Orange Elephant, an economic solution for human-elephant coexistence.
Thank you, friend. Good morning. So today, in a way, this is a continuation of what Ian sort of set up, working with communities, and that's what we have been doing mostly in our human-elephant conflict mitigation efforts in Sri Lanka, working with communities because we very much believe that what can be changed is in the attitudes and behavior of the communities. But basically we cannot change elephant behavior. So this has been very pivotal in most of the projects, community-based projects we have developed in Sri Lanka. So Project Orange Elephant is of course is about one of these efforts. And so to give you a quick overview of this. So human-elephant conflict is a very big issue in Sri Lanka, and it impacts on all these, human issues, especially in regard to their social, economic, and as well as their, hygiene and health and nutrition, food security issues, all that. And also, it's a byway, right? As much as conflict affects all of these areas, these also in return causes conflict. When people are poor, when they are not having a sustainable livelihood and have no proper direction in regard to how to make a living, then again this feeds back into creating conflict. So, as I was saying, these numbers show how much of a big problem human-elephant conflict is in Sri Lanka. Now, this is for the past 10 years. The number of elephants we lost and the number of humans we lost. So the average is like 253 elephants. Basically, as I'm talking to you now, an elephant is dying in Sri Lanka. So this table, I'm going to come back later, but I just want to show you sort of a comparison here for the last 5 years, actually. This is. Again, as you can see, the numbers are still very close to the 10-year average. So what are the root causes? I mean, you saw earlier I listed some, but then there are what we call major drivers of conflict. And one of these is actually subsistence agriculture. Subsistence farmers, the way they cultivate land, they move into very marginal land, like over there, and they do slash and burn cultivation, which eventually become permanent cultivations because these people are also homeless and landless, and they basically encroach and become illegal squatters. And most of the time they move into areas where elephants inhabit. So this, causes, as we know, habitat loss for elephants, which is, of course, the resulting impact of subsistence agriculture. And then this leads to competition, mostly for resources, and this leads to that cause of, deaths of both humans and elephants. So, as I was saying, this agriculture in Sri Lanka, even though nearly 70% of the population is surviving on agro-based livelihoods, it's the least dynamic of our national economy. Its contribution to the GDP is about less than 1%. And then of that 70%, 40% are rural subsistence farmers. And these people live in like borderline or in some cases abject poverty, because the way they cultivate is not really sustainable to give them livelihood. And on top of that, of course, they have this issue where elephants come and, destroy their homes, destroy their crops, and of course destroy their lives. So now to get a good grasp of the economic impacts, actually this study was from 2004, and now I'm sure the numbers have trebled or quadrupled since then. But this gives you an idea, even back then, how much of a big impact the human-elephant conflict, especially elephants damaging property and crops, have on the rural population. I mean, this is where the population is earning less than $1,200 per annum. So that kind of impact really pushes these people over the poverty line to abject poverty. And then on the other side, we have the animal most affected is the elephant from this kind of agricultural activities. So, and as I'm stating in red, it creates a very uncertain future for elephants. So those are the challenges, and then of course one main challenge is how can we turn this situation around? How can we make it potentially possible for these rural farmers to coexist with elephants, where elephants would have minimum impact on their livelihood? So as we know, one of the main contributing factors is agriculture. And this leads to, and then since so many people are making their living from agriculture, we also have to a certain extent look for a solution within the problem, because we cannot go and try to change these people's entire, like turn them into computer engineers or mechanics or office workers. So we need to look at a solution that is also based mostly on agriculture. And in this regard, the whole thing was how can we identify a crop that would fulfill this requirement. Basically provide the farmer with a sustainable livelihood while at the same time not being attractive to elephants. So since 2006, through our ongoing research on human-elephant conflict, what we identified citrus as one of the crops, and there are so many others, but citrus, for whatever the reason, and of the citrus varieties, especially oranges, of course we know, have a very good market demand, right? It's a fruit that is consumed globally, and also it had certain qualities that seems to fit the bill, sort of. It was a very robust tree, and it does very well in semi-arid dry zone conditions. And also the variety we use, which is a grafted plant, bears fruit in 1.5 to 3 years. So the time period is also good. I mean, obviously that's important too, especially when you're looking at providing these rural people with a sustainable livelihood. So, and then of course I want to point out a significant feature here is that our oranges are green. They don't turn yellow. So, but then we still have to make sure that our assumptions are correct, right? Because we don't want to get the farmers cultivating something and then find this is actually attracting elephants rather than, repelling them. So what we did was, unfortunately we can't do controlled trials using wild elephants, so we went to the zoo and we used the 6 captive Asian elephants that were in the Sri Lanka Zoo, and we did feeding trials. So we basically kept the elephants hungry overnight so that they were hungry enough to eat anything. And then on 4 consecutive trials that were held in 2-week gaps, so we didn't want to habituate the elephants, we fed them all those varieties of food that is listed here, right? So as you can see, anything citrus, orange, then minor orange means mandarins, and even the orange branch we offered them because we want to make sure they would eat the tree if they didn't eat the fruit. And you can see all those are here. I'm not going too much to explain what the graph is about, but the most significant feature here is that all those crops are way down below here, meaning that they showed very little interest of eating these as food. So then another thing is the economic aspect of this. So most subsistence farmers, they cultivate rice because that's their staple food. So they cultivate it to give, and then what they do is they sell some of it to get an income, and then the rest they consume, and some of it they keep for the next cultivation season. But look at these numbers. The amount of expenditure that goes into cultivating 2 acres of rice, which is like 1 hectare, that's the average land holding of a subsistence farmer. And the profit they make here, the net profit is $57. And that is also because, I had to point out, this fertilizer cost here. This is highly subsidized by the Sri Lanka government. So actually, this $221.50, for the farmer, he gets it at around $40. So there he makes some profit. But we don't take that as profit because that's subsidized. That's really not net profit. But then let's look at oranges. Now from what we have done, basically the numbers, right, compared to this. So it's a net profit for the farmer because there's no input. He has nothing to do with preparing the land every season, putting fertilizer, pesticides, agrochemicals, using machinery to harvest, nothing. And this is just based on 10 trees. That's the way we started the project. Initially, when we were doing the pilot, we gave each farmer 10 plants. But now, of course, since the concept has been proved, we now have farmers cultivating who have switched completely from doing subsistence agriculture to cultivating oranges. So now they have cultivations like 200 to 300 trees, some of these farmers. And then again, this, just disregard these numbers, they are in rupees. But look at the difference here, right? It's obvious how much of a difference in income the oranges bring to a farmer. So we started the first pilot in 2006, and since then, these are some of the outcomes of the economic benefits from the project. So in 2006, the average farmer's monthly income was $18. Normally these farmers don't get a monthly income. What they do is they have a seasonal income coming, so we averaged it out. And then by 2009, these same farmers, their income went up by 289%. And then in 2010, we started working on another village in the same area, and that was their average salary. And then by this year, this has gone up by 480%. So remember I asked you to keep in mind some of the earlier graphs about the HEC. Now this is, I'm sorry. So this is from the area that we work. So now this is for that same 5 years of the national statistics I showed you earlier. This is the same period for the area we work. So see the numbers of elephant deaths, humans. Some years we have had none. So this is really having an impact at that level, you know, where what we really wanted to achieve, which was to mitigate conflict, to bring down the numbers of conflict. So in the next, now this is bringing all those numbers together, all island, and for the area we work, which is called Lasgama. So what you really got to focus on is the bottom line. So for all island, as you can see, we lost that same period 1,500 elephants, whereas in our area we lost only 17. And human deaths, here it's 482, it's 7. And then this is average property damage. And this is the number of incidents. This is just recorded. That if this number is, of course, highly fluctuates a lot, because this number is recorded only if people go and make a complaint at the police or at the wildlife department office. But these numbers are always recorded. So, and then if you take the average, our contribution from our project area now to the all island average is less than 2% for anything. So what is the key to our success is basically the simplicity. We didn't go looking for something completely alien to the farmers. I mean, cultivating orange trees still within the means of their skills and their knowledge. And so it was very, it was a matter of just, providing them with the initial capacity to do this. And and then, of course, if children can participate, that means it's really simple, right? I mean, if they find enjoyment doing it, it can't get any simpler than that. So right now, this is where we are, actually. So we have now 314 subsistence farmers from 17 villages in the program, and we have planted up to 14,000 orange trees. So now this is where we are right now. So, and now what is the next stage we are trying to go head into? So basically we just want to scale up the project and then make it really tighten up its sustainability, so that this cultivating oranges become the primary livelihood of these farmers, not the subsistence agriculture. Basically what we are trying to do is, through this process, get them a good solid income earning avenue, so that like any other of us, they can buy what they want to eat from the store, actually, rather than try to cultivate it in a manner that is highly detrimental to the environment, to the wildlife, and including to themselves because of their intensive use of agrochemicals, which is having a huge health impact on them, which is causing an epidemic called chronic kidney disease. So this is our flow chart where we want to go. So we want to, as I mentioned, we want to scale up and expand the project. Our target is to hit 50,000 trees, because we think at that number we would be able to go into this stage of where we can, without the farmer just selling the raw fruit in the open market, we will have a facility for the farmers to bring their crop and turn it into even more value by producing value-added products and citrus derivatives. Now I don't know whether you are aware of it. The orange peel is very rich in limonene, a compound called limonene, which is highly in demand in the cosmetics and perfumery and detergent industries. So all that is potential income sources if you can get this together like this. And then of course the business model, like how would we, again coming back to the question I asked Ian, which was how do we share the equity with people, the dividends of this project. So basically, in conclusion, what I have to say is we firmly believe that you can't have blanket solutions to a problem like human-elephant conflict. It has to be very specific. You have to study the local area, the local people, the culture, how the elephants behave, the environment, and that has to be focused. So what I'm saying is, this project might not work somewhere else, but it works for the area we are working in, right? So in a way, you have to have that open attitude and get your facts together. You need to do your research, you need to do your groundwork and have that foundation, whatever solution you're going to develop. And then it's very important that whatever you do links community, and you're willing to promise on what you are claiming. And that's the only way we can create this tolerance in people and create this environment of coexistence for people and elephants, not only elephants, but even other wildlife, to coexist. So I would like to say thank you to everyone who has supported this project, including IEF and Asian Elephant Support, for helping me to be here today to share this information with you. Thank you very much.